Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. So today on the channel I thought I'd do something different. I have a guest and I thought we would talk about the different things that I really don't like about prepping, and I figured, I should probably get an alternative take on things. Now I brought this guy on because I've heard that he has slightly differing views than I do, and apparently doesn't like me that much, but I never trust a rumor. Rumors make fools of us all. So let's just get to this and see what happens. Cheers. Hi, All-American Prepper, are you there?
Let me tell you something, partner. Ain't nobody here give a bloated bullfrog's ass what you think. I'm just here for the money.
For sure. Sounds like a modem in the background. All-American Prepper, are you using dial-up?
You'll have to pardon me, I just got my brand new modem. It's 56K. It's the way of the future from what I hear.
Yeah, that's pretty advanced, I guess.
Now, first off, I want to tell you, some of these uptight sons of bitches out there might tell you that you shouldn't have your finger over the trigger. Well, let me tell you something. The shit could go down any time. You got to be ready. So I don't give a rotten rat's ass about your feelings about that there, pretty boy.
Yeah, better safe than sorry, I guess. Okay, so on the topic of politics and religion, I just don't think that it's necessary for prepping to be so politically charged as it typically is. I see some YouTube channels, they rant and rave about their political ideas and their religious views. Do you really think that it's necessary to bring that into the community, or do you think that it might be off-putting for some people who are just starting to get into this?
Now, I might not have heard you correctly, but I'm pretty sure I did. Did you just say you was a communist?
No, I wasn't making a statement about my own political views. I'm actually quite apolitical.
Oh, I see. So what you're really saying is you're a socialist.
No, apolitical actually means I'm more of a moderate,
You sure are sneaky as a snake in the grass at sundown. I bet you's a Marxist.
No, I said a moderate, not a Marxist.
So what you're saying to me is you're a transgendered illegal who came across the border just so you can get Obamacare to pay for your sex change.
No.
Canadian Prepper is a conservative, fascist piece of corporate shit.
Wait a minute. Who are you and how did you get into the chat?
There you go, fancy boy. Birds of a feather flock together. It sound a lot like Antifa.
I'm not a conservative either. Well, sometimes I am, but not all the time.
Stop lying. We all know you're not really black and you're a right-wing sellout.
No, I just mean in some ways I kind of lean to the right, in some ways I lean to the left. I like firearms and traditional values, but I also recognize the systemic barriers of certain groups in achieving different...
Hell, I personally think you's a goddamn Illuminati.
Certainly not that.
Bernie Sanders, 2020. Let's burn this place down.
Let's just move on here because I don't think we're going to be getting anywhere on this particular topic. Another thing that I feel draws an undue stigma upon the preparedness community is people who like to proselytize, people who use their YouTube platform as a way to, recruit and preach their religion to people.
I beg your pardon, sir?
Now, don't get me wrong. I don't have anything against people who practice faith or religion, and especially if it's going to really help them become better people in their lives, because I sincerely believe that can. I just sometimes feel like it might, be more off-putting for people who aren't really preppers yet,
So what you're saying is you hate Jesus Christ?
No. Well, I mean, not really. I recognize a person's right to practice religion and do what they want. I just personally, don't feel the need to conflate my own religious beliefs with prepping.
You into that Luciferian sun-worshipping death cult bullshit, boy? Getting all dressed up doing them human sacrifices at the Bohemian Grove, huh? You George Soros-loving son of a bitch.
Well, I think that's a bit of a non sequitur, All-American Prepper. Look, I'm just an impartial agnostic who acknowledges mankind's inability to understand the true nature of our existence. It's as simple as that.
It sounds to me like you one of these chai latte homo sapien fancy boys, if you catch my drift.
Yes, in the sense that that's my species, but not in the sense that you're referring to. Another gripe I have with a lot of preppers is their aversion to technology. it's like there's a lot of preppers who are really anti-technology, almost to the sense that they're like Luddites. You know, they're just against any form of technology which is beyond the 19th century. I just think there's technology which can be really beneficial to preppers. Things like a power generator, for instance.
You think you slick with your fancy technology right now, but let me tell you something right now. Them North Korean Chinamen up there, I heard it was reported by the news media, as I seen on YouTube today, by some very prominent members of the preparedness community, at least the God-fearing one, not the one you're part of. He said that North Korea fitting to drop a 20 megaton warhead straight on your ass. That's gonna cause an electromagnetic pulse that's gonna fry the circuitry right down into the ass end of that fancy power generator of yours.
Okay, I suppose that could happen. What about a smartwatch or a smartphone?
That's the mark of the beast right there. I strongly caution against it.
Radios?
That's made in China, just like the virus.
What about electric cars? I mean, there's something to be said for a car that makes no noise in a shit hits the fan situation.
Well, I tell you right now, the government gonna track your ass when you're a fancy little sports car, boy.
What about using drones for surveillance of your community?
Yeah, and good luck finding parts for your flying machine when the shit done hit the roof.
Flashlights?
The battery's gonna run out, just like you gonna run out of your back door when you see the old American prepper run up on you.
Solar panels?
It's way too expensive. Come on now, dig into my ammo budget.
Well, how about this? I know you're a firearms man, so what about different types of optics like night vision?
Never mind, it's not reliable. Sights are for pussies. It's called pray and spray. You pray to Jesus up above, you squeeze that trigger, let him do the work.
Okay, so basically I think we've established that technology is for pussies. Now, the other thing I don't like about prepping is this idea that if you live in the cities, you're completely screwed. You know, and the cities are just death traps that need to be avoided at all costs. To me, it just seems like a person might be shortchanging themselves if they avoid cities altogether for their entire lives, because that's where a lot of the opportunities really are. So while I can agree with the main concern that in times of crisis living in population-dense regions is probably haphazardous, you could still make an argument that there's a lot of benefits to living in a city during peacetime, could you not?
Now let me get one thing through that tender little feminine head of yours. The city is a ticking time bomb of the worst degenerate filth known to man. I want to quote you some scripture right here. And I heard a voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye re not receive her plagues." You know what that means, fancy boy?
Okay, thanks for letting us know your unambiguous perspective on that. That kind of sounds a bit like a sexual metaphor, if you know what I mean.
You dirty-minded son of a bitch.
No, I just mean, you said, "Come out of her, my people." That sounds like, never mind.
But you know what? You might be wise to go and check out that Pastor Dowell. He might cleanse your spirit a little bit.
But I mean, think about this, all-American prepper. What about the future of humanity and building spaceships, moving the species forward?
Listen, if you're any kind of man, you need to uproot your life. You need to take your children out of them schools that's poisoning their minds, and you need to haul their ass as far out into the countryside as you can.
What about all the opportunities that you might miss out on by isolating yourself in the countryside?
Never mind opportunity. There's a hell of a lot of opportunity out there, I'll tell you that. There's great employment opportunities, from milking the farmer's cows, shoveling manure. If you're lucky, the farmer's daughter might take a liking to you. But I can tell you right now, just by the sight of you, he probably ain't gonna like you.
Gee, all-American prepper, that's a hard deal to pass up. Now, the other thing I don't really like about prepping is this idea that everything you do in your life has to be centered around prepping and just being ready at all times for shit hits the fan. Sometimes you just want to enjoy life, you know?
Now that sounds hella dangerous to me. You can go heels and dance with the devil till you're red in the face. You ain't gonna be none the wiser.
No, don't get me wrong. I don't mean do anything crazy. I mean, I think it would be nice to like go on a vacation to somewhere exotic, you know, and just not worry about stuff for a couple weeks.
Yeah, sure, buddy. Until your airplane gets hijacked by one of these Scandinavian terrorist organizations. And you're gonna take that pretty little farmer's daughter out there in that tropical paradise. I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. God's gonna have the last word, flood your ass out. You're gonna be knee deep in another man's bullshit.
I suppose you have a point there. What about going to the cabin for a weekend? That sounds pretty safe to me.
Come on, man, you gonna leave all the preps in your house unguarded? What kind of operational security is that?
Right. Well, how about going downtown to a fancy restaurant?
Yeah, that's right, till this Antifa gonna light your ass up with a Molotov cocktail through the goddamn window.
I see, yeah. Maybe we should just go to a movie theater and take in a movie. I heard that new movie Tenet is supposed to be quite the mind bender.
I would strongly advise against it. Too many active shooters.
Right. Well, you know what? In that case, let's just go for a walk down to 7-Eleven.
Yeah, and your ass gonna get robbed too.
Check my mailbox for flyers.
I wouldn't advise that, brother. You ever heard of something called the Chinese virus? It's everywhere.
Okay, so what do you do for fun, and what do you recommend a person do to maintain their sanity in this crazy world that we live in?
Well, listen, man, I do what any responsible man would do. I clean my guns, I salivate over all my preps, and all the things I'm gonna do after the shit done hit the roof. I eagerly anticipate the end of the world as we know it, so I can rise to the top of the food chain, if you know what I'm saying.
Okay, it sounds like a fulfilling existence. Let's move on. Okay, so the other thing I've struggled with as a prepper is the inherent selfishness and individualism of doing so and being self-reliant. That the word self is in the title, so you know it's inherently a selfish pursuit.
You bet your shiny ass it is, boy.
So I mean, I know there's a lot of great YouTubers out there who are moving towards a more community focused form of prepping. It just seems like a very exclusive practice where you have to build several walls around you, you know what I mean?
Yes, right. Get on with it, buddy. We don't care.
Let me put it this way. I think sometimes that maybe I should be stockpiling extra preps for other people who might be in need.
Sure, maybe. If you want to ring the damn dinner bell for the golden whore gonna be thumping down your door after the shit come hit the roof.
I never thought about it that way. Well, I have, but that's part of the problem. Maybe you're right. Maybe I should just put some provisions away for my extended family.
Family or not, let me tell you something, buddy. When the chips are down, they're gonna chop your ass up and fry your ass like a chicken.
You do have a point there. Better to be safe than sorry. I guess I'll just have to prep for my own family and just keep it on the low.
The only person you can trust in this here world is yourself.
Right. I'll prep for myself and I won't tell the wife. Okay. Now, one other gripe I have with the preparedness community is that I do think there's an overemphasis on firearms and having a military or law enforcement background in preparedness.
Well, nobody said you was a man, buddy.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a firearms guy. I love firearms. Contrary to popular belief in Canada, we can own quite a few different types of toys, although there's other restrictions which make it very complicated for us to use them in any way that's meaningful. Regardless of that, I still am a collector, we'll say. So what are your thoughts on this?
Oh, ain't that too bad. Well, I'm sorry you feel that way there, little Goldilocks. You rest your little head. I'm sure there's a safe space out there somewhere for you in California. At least part of it that ain't been burned down yet by all your Pantifa friends down there.
Okay, I guess I will have to go there then. Look, I realize the importance of firearms and circling the wagons when the shit hits the fan, okay? When the time comes, obviously that's very important, and one should devote a significant amount of time in terms of firearms training. I just think it's a little bit overblown in prepping, and if you're spending 90% of your time at the gun range and only 10% doing the myriad other things that are involved in actually eking out an existence on your own in a self-reliant fashion after the shit hits the fan, then maybe your priorities aren't in the right place. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we all know you ain't a real man. What's the next question?
That's a fair point. You know, this is just a quick point about preparedness, and I'm guilty as charged as the next person. I just think that there's a good chance that people may actually come together in times of crisis, but as preppers, we tend to think the opposite thing. Now, sometimes, you know, I've heard it said that, okay, preppers or people in general are going to come together in the early stages of collapse, but as resources dwindle, you know, maybe people aren't going to get along that well. But I'm wondering if that's not going to be the case. Even if we do go back to some form of tribalism, you know, we're still going to have to work together within decent-sized communities in order to survive. The vacuum of lawlessness will be filled by some kind of order, possibly a tyrant. But regardless, I think the pessimism might not be warranted. What do you think, All-American Prepper?
Yeah, until the food run out, and us good old boys have a little barbecue, if you know what I mean.
In that case, the pessimism might be warranted. Another big problem I have with prepping is that there's a lot of people who are out of shape and unfit. Now, I'm talking about people who could be more fit but aren't. And everybody probably could be. Even if you're wheelchair bound and have 3 or 4 chronic health conditions, there's always something we can do that's better for our health that a lot of people, including myself, aren't always doing. I just think that if you consider yourself a survivalist, where the sole point is to survive as long as you possibly can on this rock, to keep that old heart beating as long as possible, the main priority should probably be your physical health. Now, I could be wrong about this. I'm not saying you have to be a professional athlete. You know, this is all relative to your current health disposition, right? It just seems kind of nonsensical to me to spend the majority of your time, you know, stockpiling food and guns when you're literally shaving decades off your life by living an unhealthy lifestyle.
Listen, man, time spent at the gym is for pussies. You know, that's time away from the gun range.
Right. But don't you think if a person was outside looking at preppers and seeing a bunch of out-of-shape people stockpiling firearms and food, don't you think that they might look at that and say, you know, maybe your priorities aren't in the right place, and maybe this doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and maybe I don't want to do it?
Now, sure, I might be coming off a double bypass surgery. I got high blood pressure, and I'm 50 pounds overweight, and I likely won't make it to see the shit hit the fan I've been so eagerly anticipating for my entire goddamn life. But let me tell you something, I'll be a good shot if I get there.
Okay, but don't you think that the point of prepping, and this has always been my goal with this channel, is to attract more people to preparedness? Because the way I see it, and you can quote me on this, every person I can convert into a prepper, that's one less marauder out there when the shit hits the fan. Now, the last pet peeve I have with prepping, and this is contained within the word itself, prepping. I hate the prepping verbiage that we use. I really think that we need to use more sophisticated words and acronyms and abbreviations if we are going to ever be respected in the greater community at large. I think the term prepping itself is kind of stupid. And in some ways, I regret calling myself a Canadian prepper sometimes because, I don't know, just the word doesn't really command any respect in professional circles, if you know what I mean.
The nomenclature of prepping was thought up by the finest intellectuals society has to offer.
But do you really think the abbreviation SHTF captures the seriousness of the situation? To me, it almost sounds like something somebody just said one day and it stuck for years and decades and possibly hundreds of years henceforth.
That's right. The shit hit the fan is a very sophisticated terminology that's used to talk about what happens when the shit hits the fan. I thought maybe you Ivy League boys would be bright enough to get that with all your book learning and your education and your $50,000 in student loan debt. Tell me about that.
So you think the abbreviation TIATWAKI is the best we as preppers are capable of of describing the unique set of circumstances that would be, for lack of better terms, shit hits the fan.
Tiyak-Twaki is a very sophisticated way of trying to communicate what happens when the shit don't hit the roof.
Okay, thanks a lot. Well, folks, I want to thank my guest, All-American Prepper. I'm sure he had as much fun doing this as me, and I really hope he comes back on the program again in the future. All-American Prepper, do you have any final thoughts on what we've discussed today?
Don't think that the All-American Prepper don't have his eyes wide open seeing what the hell going on. I know the civilization's collapsing right before our eyes. You better get ready, boy. You better prepare for Jesus Christ, our Savior, because he's coming to put an ass whooping on all of your liberal, commie, dirty, low-down, sons of bitchin' homo sapien asses. So you better get ready, because Trump's coming in 2020.
Let's end it at that. Go check out the other All-American Prepper videos in the description below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Canadian Prepper out.
Joe Biden, more like Joe Hyden, where he at? You bet your bald ass it is.